Good morning and happy Wednesday. I missed you guys this morning. We just had a couple of people on the call, and the goal is to have regular communication with the dispatch team on a weekly basis until we get everything dialed in a little bit nicer for everyone. So you can expect our Wednesday calls at 7:30 to be happening every Wednesday unless there's an announcement made and we need to make an adjustment. So with that being said, we will also have a Friday call at 6 p.m. that I'm hoping that everyone can join because I'm really looking forward to getting some of the shift checklists updated with your input. So with that being said, I just wanted to give a brief update on some of the things that are really important that probably shouldn't wait till Friday. The first thing is we had a meeting with Skylease yesterday, and we have now access to their monthly schedule. Yay! Which means that we're not counting on Pegasus to just give us the last minute updates. So, awesome news. That information can be accessed 24/7 by going to this URL and website and using our username and password. All of Skylease's stuff is supposed to be in Zulu time. So if you guys see something different, please let me know. And with that, I just wanted to remind everyone that with the daylight savings happening on Sunday morning, we now have to adjust Zulu time an hour. So if you're not sure what that means, please get with another dispatcher or the manager that's on your shift and get that sorted out because all of your configurations for the Coletta and the Skylease trips will be off an hour if we don't get that clarified with you. The next thing is that we have noticed that there is something going on with FedEx 5813 on in the morning. It's on our schedule for 1800, but for some reason we're getting concern notices that we weren't there to pick them up and it was 4:30ish in the morning. So we're working on that. But if you guys notice something, please get the incident reports filed so that management is aware of what's going on. The key to getting all of these details up to management quickly as soon as we get on duty is to send those incident reports because we're looking at them. The other update that I wanted to mention is the on hold box. Now that is technically a tool of ours that we use that we've kind of gotten away from, but that's really our double check system. So when a reservation gets updated or a crew trip gets updated, we change the status in Zendesk to on hold. And then what we need is for the other team members or the support agents to just go and look and make sure that what's been put in Limo Anywhere is actually what's in that reservation request, and then solve the ticket. And that's it. It's just a second pair of eyes to make sure that we didn't type in something incorrectly or transpose something. So please, please start using the on hold box. Another thing that I wanted to bring up was verifying the GT schedule. And really, this should happen on every shift. We have these online tools. I sent out an email earlier last week about how to access the ground transportation schedule for FedEx online and how to access the Alaska Airlines transportation schedule. That's the Alaska Airlines schedule is emailed to us about 4:30 every single day. And so it's like a timestamp of everything that's happened up until that point. That's what the schedule is. So if there were any changes that happened after 4:30, of course we need to consider those and make sure that those were incorporated into the schedule for the day. But if the schedule is getting checked at 4:30 when that comes in, then absolutely that should be what it is. Now, if something doesn't look right on either GT schedule compared to when you compare it to our grid schedule, then we need to pick up the phone and call their operations center. Those numbers are located on that email that I sent with instructions on how to access the FedEx website. They're also on our frequently called numbers list. So what that means is you can just go to Google Drive and start to type frequently called numbers. That Google Sheet is going to pop right up and you'll be able to click it. I hope that everybody knows about that, because that's literally got all of the phone numbers for all of our airlines and customers and vendors that we need to speak to on a regular basis. So it's a super powerful tool. Uh, the support training checklist. I hope that everyone has had a chance to take a look at that and to offer some input at the next meeting. And also for the people that are new, that they're using that as a tool. And I need your feedback on how that tool is working for you. So looking forward to talking to you guys about feedback on that. When we are late, or we think we are going to be late for a trip in advance, like we're looking at the grid and we know that we're not going to make that trip, we're going to be 10 minutes late, it is super important to contact the airline and let them know. And the reason for that is, let's look at the case of Korean. If Korean knows that we're going to be 10 minutes late and their people are going to be 10 minutes late to the plane, they can send somebody out to do some of those duties that would otherwise have been done by the crew, to shave off some of that time, to kind of mitigate any negative impact that it would have on the flight being delayed, or some other thing that we may not be aware of. So I just want to really, really, really press upon the fact that if you know we're going to be late for a trip because something has happened that's outside of our control, absolutely call Korean, call Alaska Airlines, let them know so that we can give them the opportunity to put some things in place before we get there. Going down the list here, I am now looking at communication between shifts. So it used to be that we have done several methods for communicating between shifts, but really I think the one that was sound was just using the Google workbook for the day, so that there's a book for the month and there's a tab for each day, and each shift goes in there and lists anything that the next oncoming shift needs to know. And it could be, I mean, some of those important ones are, I had to call in these 3 drivers early, or I let these 3 drivers go home early because it was slow. Those are all super important. And as we're really trying to dial in our scheduling, that's critical for the schedulers to know what had happened on that day, so that when they're looking at that next week on that day, they can go, oh, I see we had some situations here that were a result of these flights that came in. So I wanted to talk to you guys more about that when we're all at the meeting, and so I'm going to make sure that's on the agenda to discuss on just communicating in between shifts. Next thing I'm looking at on the list here is, all reservations need to have a deposit unless they're a direct bill client. I personally had to charge some trips that I was looking at over the weekend that were booked but did not have a credit card payment charged. It's our policy that we are not extending credit to anybody that does not have a direct bill account. And the reason for that is if we don't have terms with you, we don't have a written signed agreement with you, then we don't know how we don't know if we're going to get paid for that trip. So it's super, super important that if you're booking a trip and it's happening in the next day or so, I mean, whatever, if they're not a direct bill client, you must charge their credit card at the time of billing. Now, it is acceptable to do a 50% deposit and then a 50% the day before the reservation is, or 2 days before the reservation is to happen, but we have to have some kind of a deposit on. The best case scenario would be to charge the entire trip, and as you know, this could lead to problems down the road. Accounting has had to charge trips after the fact, and sometimes people's credit card doesn't go through, and then we're left chasing them, and it's a bad deal. So we don't want to add one more trip to the schedule that we're not going to get paid for. So please, team, please just charge those credit cards at the time of booking. So I'm looking at the next thing is when the ANC dispatcher has to go on a push to help out the team, it's critical that you call the dispatcher at headquarters and let them know that you're going out to do a push, and let them know if you contacted the rack room, because we've got stuff that's starting to stack up. They don't know if the rack room's been called or not, and that was kind of a thing that was brought up, was I don't know if you've already asked for help, and I certainly don't want to annoy them, and we don't want to have to make one more phone call than we need to. So it would be super helpful if you're going out on a push, contact headquarters dispatch, make sure that they know what's going on. And while you're out, we need the support agent to dial into the ANC dispatch extension, so that when you come back from your push or you come back from being on the floor, then they're going to log out so that you can log back in. The thing about Ring Central is you can have a mobile device and a desktop logged into the same extension, but you cannot have two desktops logged into the same extension. It'll literally say that your password and username could be invalid, or that you've entered in the wrong credentials. And that's not necessarily true. It just means someone else is logged in and we need to get them logged out. So that communication piece is critical. Also, I'm going to need some help on what you guys have been doing as the standard for contacting the rack room. Have you been giving them 15 minutes notice, 10 minutes notice, 5 minutes notice? And we need to get that process down in a document so that we can share it with the rest of the team and we're all doing the same thing. So I'm looking forward to getting with you guys at our next meeting and answering that question. We've got a few other things that we did touch base on already at the last meeting, but I will save those for when we meet again, and I'm looking forward to hearing what some of your guys' ideas are on the department priorities. I know last week ANC really felt that the schedule was the priority at this time to get things down to back to a baseline. I've communicated that with Paul. I also communicated to Paul and Jeff that Amber Grace had some interest in helping out with the schedule, with her experience doing 24-hour schedules, and so they're aware of that. And overall, I think that our talk last week, both of our talks, had a great impact on what I could communicate to the leadership meeting on that Wednesday, and I just really appreciate everyone that's participating and engaged in this, making our dispatch system even better. So I hope you guys have a wonderful Wednesday, and I look forward to seeing any add-ons to the IDS list on our meeting workbook. And I'll make sure to send out a reminder earlier than I did. I didn't send reminders out until late yesterday, and I was a little under the weather on Monday and Tuesday, so my apologies there. But I just want to reiterate, we're going to do this every week. And until we start getting some serious traction on solving some of the things that we just want to make better in the dispatch department. Talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye. Oh, I had one more thing that I wanted to mention. We have had an uptick in mobility concern reports. And I really, really, really need the dispatch team at the main office to be letting management know if we're at the 30-minute mark and we have somebody waiting, we have to be notified, because we've got to get somebody on that trip, especially those poor individuals who have been sitting in a dialysis chair for hours and hours and hours. And then if they end up waiting because we have a backlog, or we have something else going on, we need to be able to get the management team to solve the problem or help problem solve to get that person picked up as soon as possible. It's unfortunate that there is one situation in particular that happened where somebody was picked up late, and it was over an hour late. They had other issues with medication and oxygen and stuff running out, and It was awful for that customer, and we just want to avoid that at all costs. So I just wanted to let you guys know that if you have JS on your schedule and you know that you're not going to be able to get the driver that's on deck right now to that person in the next 30 minutes, then let management know, because chances are it's 30 minutes and then it's another 15 to 20 minutes to get to the destination, and there we're at that hour. So please, please, please also make sure that you see mobility trips in your schedule for the day. If you don't see any trips in there, that's a red flag. We've also had a situation where we're not getting the schedules like we normally do by 3 o'clock or the updates, and we've got to call the Huck station and find out what's going on, because it leads to other problems the next day or problems later on in the shift. So again, I hope you guys have an awesome Wednesday, and I just wanted to add that to the back end, and talk to you soon. Bye-bye.